In New Zealand, we have a thing called Boxing Day. And Boxing Day, public holiday celebrated on the first day, strictly the first weekday after Christmas Day. And it originated in the United Kingdom and is celebrated in a number of countries that have previously formed part of the British Empire. In Great Britain, usually confined to gratuities to those given to those who are supposed to have a vague claim upon the donor of services rendered to them as one of the general public by whom they are employed and paid, and or as a customer of their legal employer, the undefined theory being that as they have done offices for the person for which he has not directly paid them, thus some direct acknowledgement is becoming a Christmas. So basically, if you haven't been paid by your employer, Boxing Day was supposed to be the day where they paid you back. And we now celebrate that in New Zealand by doing Boxing Day sales. And, you know, the thing is, right, they used to just be one day on the 26th before like, the internet became as big as it is and it became as competitive as it is for online businesses, as well as brick and mortar ones that had to sort of adapt. And nowadays we have the situation where Boxing Day sales actually go into the new year. It's pretty insane, pretty crazy. And the reason I'm making this video is because one of the products that I've noticed being on sale is this one. And you'll see across the board that the Mighty Ape warehouse, it's $99. Now, why would these consoles all cost $99? Why is this $170 down to $100? Now, remembering that this is New Zealand pricing, so it's different to your Americans and people from other countries there, okay? The reason that this is the price it is because it has not been selling well. This sale, this Boxing Day sale, or whatever kind of sale it is on until the 26th of January. They are desperate to get rid of these guys. They obviously made a crap ton of them, realized, hey, we're not actually selling any, or enough, and then they decided to do this. Now you might be wondering, why wouldn't people want to buy PlayStation Classic for $170? And let's have a look at the components you get. You get this, you get some cables, you get two controllers, which I guess is better than the original NES Classic, which only came with one, because Nintendo don't know how to make a fucking emulation console that's got multiplayer games in it and make it compatible for more than one person. It's got the original Sony manual here. That's how it used to look, I think, when I was a kid. It's quite... They're going for that whole retro thing, and they deliberately designed it, as many people on YouTube have already stated, so that it would appeal to people, and people would buy it for their kids for Christmas. Given that, like, it's been, more than 20 years since the original PlayStation 1 came out, it's like, oh look, I can get it for the next generation of people. That will make me want to buy a PS4. And the games you've got here are Battle Arena Toshinden, Cool Borders 2, Destruction Derby. Oh no, here they are. Okay, you got Battle Arena Toshinden, Cool Borders 2. I'm gonna make it full screen. Final Fantasy 7, Grand Theft Auto, Intelligent Cube, Jumping Flash, Metal Gear Solid, Mr. Driller, Old World Abe's Odyssey, Rayman, Resident Evil, Revelations, Ridge Racer Type 4, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, Siphon Filter, Tekken 3, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, Twisted Metal, and Wild Arms. And that's it. Those are the games you've got there. Now you might be thinking, but Logan, that's a lot of games for $100, isn't it? You know what I feel would have been way smarter? It's just an opinion, right? It would have been way smarter if this thing had been sold for $100 off the bat. And then what you could have done, it could have had an Ethernet port or like a little Wi-Fi thing, making it $170. So they could have put a little Wi-Fi driver, bring it up to $170. That meant that you could download more games and delete the ones in your existing PS Classic, and just, maybe Sony could have had the ROMs that they have in storage or to be downloaded and put on. Maybe they could have put a SD card port into it or something like that. So you could put a whole lot of stuff into an SD card and play it on your emulator. Because at the end of the day, this is an emulator. This is a modified PlayStation emulator, as I understand it. The software running the games. It's just an emulator system. And what's happened is Sony have realized, hey, I can't sell this for $170. And this was obviously a price that they were very, very, very firm on. So it's a bit seedy that they were so firm on that pricing with every single distributor. See, limited stock? I sincerely doubt it's limited. It especially wasn't limited before they lowered it to $100. You'll see here, it looks like a piece of plastic. The thing is, up until as recently as a year ago, you could have easily gotten any of these ROMs for free. And I know what you're saying, oh, but Logan, that's illegal. It's really not. There was no way of getting a hold of these games unless you spent a pretentious and stupid amount of money. And then you would have also had to have bought a gaming console that just doesn't exist anymore. Nobody's got PS2 or PS1s for sales. Nobody's even got PS3s for sale, unless you go to Cash Converters and pay $20 for one. It's probably had the shit beaten out of it. So there's no way you could have even entered into something that could precipitate being illegal, because there was no capacity for an illegal purchase when there was a viable option to exist. Don't even get me started on this shit. I agree with Jim Sterling on this one, where if the product isn't available, it's not stealing. If you're not making it available for people to download or get a hold of, it's not stealing. I guess for Final Fantasy like 7, there are maybe each of these games is like $5 each. I sincerely doubt that every single one of these games would have been easy to get a hold of, at least until very recently. And in fact, a lot of the more recent versions probably got remastered or got up to 60 frames per second, which surprises me that they've been using, like, what was it here? Where was the thing about it being 50 hertz? Yeah, some guy says, I know a lot of people have been jumping up and down about certain games running at 50 hertz, but I haven't noticed it, probably because they grew up in the 50 hertz PlayStation. Yeah, I agree. I agree that that's what we grew up with, but the problem is that this thing costs $170 fucking dollars. There's no need for them to use the 50 hertz version. It's completely incompetent. People can see a slight difference between them. You can see the difference between 50 and 60. Just because you don't want to believe you can doesn't mean that people can't. It's not how life works. It's not how science works. You can't just say that you don't think something exists, therefore nobody should. It's stupid. Don't do that. Okay? There's a slight difference between 50 and 60 hertz. I know there's not a direct. I know you can have a 60 hertz television and not have 60 FPS. I get that. But the idea was that you'd have 50 FPS for 50 hertz. Because you're definitely not getting 60 FPS on a 50 hertz monitor, are you? Anyways, I just want to make a video about that. I just think it's really interesting that they've lowered the price. I would actually say that they've kind of shot the gun a little bit. This price here is how much the PS1 costs. Okay? This is how much it actually costs. About $4 or $5 a game. Okay? That's how much. It's not 170. This was the premium they were milking people for before Christmas. That extra $70 New Zealand is what they were milking people for before Christmas. So I think people need to be really, really careful about how they treat these things. They need to be really careful about what they enter into. Because the reality is that if you do not make sensible purchasing decisions and just wait and see what things are like. I mean, this is exactly why stuff price dropped, because people weren't buying enough of them, and so they panicked and they lowered it to $100. Or maybe that was something they were going to do the entire time, I don't know. But then you have a look. You have a look at, where was it? Pretty sure I saw like a reference to the NES Classic, but anyways. If you're going to buy a PlayStation Classic, now's the time to do it. As I said, this sale will be on until 26th January. Wow, okay, phone, thank you. Thank you. Well, I really appreciate you chiming in there. with an alarm. And yeah, I'll catch you later. Stay cool, see ya. And yeah, maybe just be careful. You know, after that pre-order video I made, I think this is just another reason to just make him wait a little bit. Not that this is an exceptionally incompetent product, but I mean, I remember up until very recently there were websites, and I think there still are, but there are websites where you can just get this stuff for free. So they've got to offer a superior product. I just don't think they have.